Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturn and Capricorn webinar. This is the Peace Dealer, and I hope you are ready for a very important journey into uncovering the truth about this very important, and if I may say so, grand Saturn transit through Capricorn. When you think of Capricorn, you want to think grandness and greatness. And we are now going to jump into this portal of infinity right into the PowerPoint presentation. Amen. So, once again, thank you for joining me as I have appropriately titled this webinar, Manifesting Your True Greatness. We all have a part of ourselves that reflects the true greatness of our souls and spirits, as well as really acknowledging the greatest parts of ourselves. Saturn can sometimes get a very bad rap of being an orb of intense difficulty or a planet that brings intense difficulty. But the way Saturn wants to bring out the greatest you have is through challenges that show you and others who you really and truly are. So it's quite interesting. One thing you can't escape are death and something else and taxes. But you really can't escape Saturn either, because Saturn is going to very profoundly reveal where in your life you lack integrity, or it's going to reveal where you have integrity. It's a very much so as this planet that gives you opportunities through these challenges. Jupiter will give you positive opportunities or certain risky opportunities to expand your luck and belief in yourself. Saturn is going to test through challenge how well you've been working on yourself. And when we think about Saturn going into Capricorn, it's been transiting all the other planets throughout its 30-year cycle that it takes to travel through signs. And now that it's coming back into Capricorn, the purpose of this cycle that Capricorn had ushered in and moved is going to manifest your true greatness. As such, this is going to involve a very, very, very interesting dynamic of events that pushes you more than you've probably ever been pushed your entire life. Once again, just to make sure you, if anything, can show yourself what you're truly made of. Especially now that we take into consideration and account how this is going to affect all of us this time around. Just to give you a little bit of context, though, the last time Saturn was in Aries was 1996. The last time it was in Capricorn was 1990. We could even say 1989. So when we're thinking about those of you who may necessarily be experiencing certain Saturn returns or just experiencing the Saturn transit, understand that Saturn coming back to Capricorn is fulfilling the work that it has done since 1989. From 1989 to 1996 was when we closed off the last Saturn cycle. If we're going to look at it as Saturn relaunching every time it's in Aries. Ooh. And a whole lot has occurred during this 28 years, 27 years, featuring the shifting of Neptune and Uranus into Pisces and Aries, respectively. And of course, our huge disruptor Pluto making its way into Capricorn. So just think about that for a while. Ever since the last time Saturn was in Capricorn, Neptune was in Capricorn, Uranus was in Capricorn, Pluto was in Scorpio. So keep that in mind, especially those of you with Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn. Saturn is going to master those superpowers as it caps off those transits. And in the short 28 years that Saturn has gone around, once again, we have seen Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus shift considerably. All right. And we want to keep that context because Saturn is moving back here, ready to shift forward as these outer planets move even more forward. Okay. And it's such a huge deal. It's such a huge deal, especially when you even think of the word deal, which is going to incorporate some kind of contractual agreement. This is all Saturn. Saturn is the real deal that gets grounded in this physical reality. More things to think about as once again, when we really highlight and come to accept what this go around is going to bring, the intense structural changes that we'll be able to see as throughout the period we had these outer planets shift, we were uncovering greater spiritual knowledge about ourselves. The spiritual knowledge had everything to do with Uranus and Neptune in Aquarius. And then Pluto eventually shifted out of Sagittarius into Capricorn in 2008. And then Neptune reached Pisces 2012. And we finally evolved at a collective conscious level to where we can now have personal experiences about this collective energy. And this personal account is Uranus and Aries that is really bringing all this electricity to us directly. So now that Saturn is coming back into Capricorn, this is going to bring with it structural changes that will apply our spiritual findings to society. The collective consciousness will experience these changes once Saturn goes into Aquarius and Pisces. But this is where intense structural changes birth, so that as we kick off the last chapter of this 3-part Saturn transit, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, we really manifest greatness in ways that fully actualize our real potential, at least for the next 30 years. This, of course, will bring with it an integrity audit that will really influence you to really come to terms with where you may lack or possess integrity. And you really don't want to forget that there's a greater level of righteousness and truth that you could walk on as you're manifesting your true greatness. And anything in your life that does not reflect integrity on your part, Saturn is going to be on you heavy. as there's so much at stake for the path you're walking and for what you're personally ready to manifest. You can't have any lack of integrity get in your way. Everyone knows Capricorn moons are the kings and queens of self-roasting. So if you cannot handle the heat, get out the kitchen. Okay. Diane says, I'm excited for the music industry to become more earthy again. This is so true. And similar to the last time Saturn was in Capricorn, you're going to hear some of the greatest music come out during this period because it's going to bring into account all the craziness we've experienced. You're going to really see the music reflect a review period of the past 10, 20 years and where we're going to move with it. So for those of you with Capricorn energy who are used to really being real with yourself and beating yourself up if you have to, this will be cool because you're already used to this. For those of you who are not used to that, you can kind of be broken down and you cannot take it personally. When throughout this transit, you may be exposed, and it's not really about trying to ruin you. It's just about you being honest with yourself. This integrity audit is also going to have Saturn show you places in your life that you do have integrity and where you need to keep fostering that. So it's not always just going to be bad. Saturn rules ambition, and Saturn's ambition is its most powerful in Capricorn. And a lot of you have been wanting to find that purpose. We look to fire signs to give us excitement, but it's only until it's an Earth that it's grounded with real purpose. So a lot of this excitement that Saturn in Sagittarius has subtly evoked. I say subtly because Saturn's involved, so it's not like yay, like Jupiter and Sagittarius will be, but it really subtly helped you discern what to be excited about. Now this is going to fully sharpen once this is in Capricorn by serious events. You know how you can get really inspired by something serious that kind of snaps you out. Saturn transiting Capricorn is the type of transit where you desire something personal so much, and then you see somebody's like child's mother get killed, and you're like, wow, no, how could I even want what I wanted? That's superficial. And something really serious doesn't have to be someone dying, but Pluto's involved. Something really serious is going to very powerfully snap you back. Okay, Saturn square Neptune can distract us, but now that it'll be sextiling, you're going to be tapped into what's really going on in your world. And it's a subtle shift into Aquarius where you integrate your own desires for the highest good of all. And this is going to, for those who are sincere about manifesting their true greatness, uncover real reasons for why they really need to wake up every morning to achieve their goals. Even if you wake up in the afternoon, just make sure you're achieving your goals. And of course, the most important part of this Saturn transiting Capricorn transit is very much so the implementation of the mastering of your superpowers. Congratulations. I've been talking about this so much. And before you are ready to finally harness your supernatural power at a physical level, what you needed was to have the awareness of such and the belief in such to know that it was definitely possible. All right. And it's not so much that knowing you're powerful is enough to evoke the need to harness it. We had to go through a good 6 to 10 years of examining how we get in our own way. I promise a lot of you, if we were able to harness our supernatural power 2012 into 2014, when Saturn was in Scorpio and so many people were emotionally unstable, a majority of you, don't lie, a majority of you would have used those powers not for evil, but you would have slipped up and you would have done something that you regret. Because once you have a harnessing and mastery of this supernatural power, it's just like Nen. You know what I'm saying? Once you express that Hatsu, once you evoke your will and you act, you can't go back from that. And the supernatural power is a collective shift. We're heading into Saturn and Aquarius and Pisces, where we have to learn how to integrate these superpowers in a collective sense so that we don't fight each other with them. All right. Keep in mind, Saturn transiting Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius was to build our psychological ability to handle these superpowers. You had to learn how to control your desire and obsession or obsessive hate in Saturn and Scorpio so that when you get these superpowers, you have restraint and you have integrity. Saturn knows that with great power, this the one phrase to basically cap this Saturn and Capricorn transit is, with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm all supernatural power, superpower this. It's not really in the sense where it's like, yay, we're gonna have superpowers, we're evolving as a consciousness. No, Saturn is bestowing this to collectively to everyone because we need this in order for us to achieve our greatness, in order for us to actually protect ourselves from other people using their powers. We need to harness our own powers. We need to harness our own powers with integrity. And it's not that we're just all of a sudden getting new superpowers. The supernatural mastery of power is Saturn's plan that it ushered in 1996 when Saturn was in Aries. Once Saturn was in Capricorn 1989, conjunct Neptune and Uranus, Saturn had a conversation with them and said, once I come back into this sign, the greatness of psychic ability and quantum evolution will be mastered. Think about that. The last time Saturn was in Capricorn, it was conjunct Neptune and Uranus. So what going back around is mastering the greatness of that power, especially now that Uranus is going to be in Taurus and Neptune's in Pisces, so that we can actually not only master it, but then start applying it immediately. And this is just how amazing the timing is. So this is why this is such a huge deal. This is why being born during this time is such a huge deal. Saturn and Capricorn is where you realize your power. And then you need 2 more Saturn transits to learn how to experience this. And they all mirror octaves of the last chapters. Pay attention. And remember, you're going to gain important hindsight on what really went down. Saturn Scorpio, Saturn Libra, Saturn Sagittarius. While we were going through it, it was hard to understand. But now that we're finishing the chapter, we're going to have clarity. And 2010 to 2016 is going to make so much more sense once these powers activate. Now, the awakening of these superpowers was Saturn Scorpio, Saturn Sagittarius. This was when you had a greater awareness. And I say this loosely now because I don't necessarily mean that every single individual human being is going to harness this collective awakening. There will be many people who don't harness this collective awakening. The main reason why most people will not harness this collective awakening is because they're from an older generation. They were born before the 1970s and they already have their superpowers mastered. any one of you who was born, say 71, when the last time the last time Saturn was in Capricorn, or maybe even 61, let me make sure, or in the 50s. And any of you, yeah, it wasn't 71, but any of you born like before 70, especially the last time Saturn was in Capricorn before 89, you've already started harnessing your superpowers. Anyone who's like 50 or older, you've already started harnessing your superpowers already. So your place in this collective shift is huge, because this is where you can finally come out in the open with your superpowers. See, because Neptune is finally outside, because Neptune is finally past Aquarius and in Neptune, and Uranus has started a new cycle. This is the new cycle of integrating and coming out in public with superpowers. I swear to God, like by the time Saturn's in Pisces, Saturn in Aquarius is when we're going to build the vigilantism. Saturn in Aquarius is when you're going to start seeing people build vigilante groups to fight crime and enforce the law themselves and enforce karma. And it won't fully come into place till Pluto in Aquarius 2025, when this is a thing. Okay. But you're going to see a beta tested Saturn Aquarius. It's not till Saturn and Pisces that we're building the experience. Okay. Swear to God, like Pluto in Aquarius comes, we're going to have encounters from Frieza, Cell, all these aliens that were not permitted to come through the atmosphere. But since we had this collective shift, now we can perceive beings and giants that were always around us. And the reason why this is important to say is, once again, for those of you who are over 50 years old or born before the 70s, you already see these people now. And the only difference between the younger generation that's finally going to harness this next level versus you is that you're going to finally be able to open up about it. You're going to finally be able to tell your children, hey, young Pluto Scorpio, hey, young Pluto Capricorn, Pluto Sag, I've always had superpowers, even when you were a little kid. See, the thing with you guys is you needed time to really understand your superpowers because it was actively suppressed. Whereas now it's actively going to be promoted. A weird part of this promotion is actually done so by dark forces so that they could use the new age movement to possess people, because this is going to open people's hearts. But that's why if you have integrity, you'll know who you are. You're manifesting your greatness and you won't have to worry about that. So once again, mastering superpowers, I think it's important to understand the main reason you need this integrity. The main reason you need to know your purpose is that when Saturn gives you this great power, you're going to have great responsibility. And Jupiter in Scorpio is exposing the last Saturn cycle. Saturn in Capricorn is going to everyone that has power and saying, what did you do with this power? And you're seeing a lot of people get exposed for misusing this power. The reason why you need to master this is so you don't abuse this. This is really more so why you're going to see. Just think about how many people misabused the power that they've had. All right, superpowers doesn't always have to be telekinesis. Superpowers could be having mastery command over large amounts of people, and you could use those superpowers to, molest others and completely take advantage of their own free will. And this is why you had to go through Saturn and Scorpio. Saturn and Libra had to really teach you. Saturn and Libra is where in 2010, right? 2010 to 2012 was when you started to really gain an awareness of how your own psychological energy can influence others. And Saturn and Scorpio built the boundaries. How are we going to take our power back here? How are we going to develop what we desire? Saturn in Sagittarius started to give you an initial experience of what's possible. And the square to Neptune was so that you can stretch your imagination and know that certain things you thought were fiction are actually fact. It also ushered in just some very crazy ideology. Like It's only going to get crazier too. Like all this stuff about like trans age people, you know, like a 37 or dude in his 40s who's like, I think I just want to be a 7-year-old girl. And he was able to find this. This is how powerful Neptune is. Like, dude was able to find two grown ass old adults to adopt his old ass so that he could be their 7-year-old girl. Like, this is Neptune effery. Neptune, like, people don't just make irrational decisions like that. This is Neptune. Like, trust me. I might be a trans financial one day and just decide that I'm no longer this tax bracket. I'm going to be a billionaire. All right? This is the dissolving Neptune is doing to people, to where they literally lose all sense of logic. So a transit like Saturn and Capricorn is going to bring that reality back to where it's like, okay, bro, let's just keep it 100% real. You know your ass is not a 7-year-old girl. What are you going to do? And this is where you have to really get audited by that integrity. This is where you have to make very important decisions to be who you really are, not the illusions or lies that you feel that you are. Capricorn does not deal with irrational feelings, just emotions that align with truth. Okay. So, as we kick off this transit, the first decan of this transit is realization. We're going to hop into the Peace Mobile to get a visual of this, but I've noted some major transits that will be strictly influencing the first decan of Saturn. The square to Chiron, the trine to Uranus, and the quincunx to the North Node is going to start in May of 2018, from May to November. There will be other transits before then, as we will see. We're going to go through this slow. But this first decan is realization. This is going to be a very powerful first transit. And I mean, it's going to last a whole year, if that means anything to you. This decan of realization, as Saturn travels from 0 to 10 degrees, will test very profoundly how willing you are to move forward with the awareness of who you are and the awareness of your greatness that you're building. As such, during the first decan of transits, it's going to incorporate a need to just allow things to come up as they may before you deal with them. Saturn is going to bring you into realization about your personal power and about what you can do with your power. So whereas before you would experience stuff in Saturn and Sag, or feel stuff in Saturn and Scorpio, but you may not have been sure what to do, you will know what to do. You will witness, oh, wow, this is what I can do with this, what I'm doing. And this will, the purpose of this first decan is to give you a realization of the sense of responsibility you need to harness your power in ways that align with integrity. You can expect a whole lot of temptation. And this is why I said, make sure you get your crap together by now, because the first decan is going to bring with it, especially during the retrograde, a whole lot of tests to see whether you really are who you say you are, and to see whether you really learn the Saturn and Sag lesson, or that whole last chapter from 2010 to 2017. A very important thing to keep in mind is that come May, once all this energy shifts in the new year, right after April, the Saturn square to Chiron and trine Uranus will be when we really start to feel underway Saturn moving forward in Capricorn. So from December 20th to April, we're closing out this year. And I want you to think that the first part of that is us really coming into an initial realization and reviewing the year we just went through and getting ready to decide how we're ready to kick off the next new year. Because next April 2018, we're stepping forward and start. All right. And let me just reiterate, because April 2017 was coming into the awareness of who we are. This was when we decided this is who I am, and we had to get excited about it and walk in that direction. Because with Saturn and Sagittarius, we were still journeying on that adventure to discover the true meaning of who we are. And now when we start April 2018, we already know who we are. We're realizing this, and we're moving forward, upgraded and more powerful than ever. So come May, once Chiron initially moves into Aries and Uranus moves into Taurus before they retrograde back in November, right, into Pisces and Aries respectively, Saturn squaring Chiron and trining Uranus is going to immediately apply our superpowers into how realistically we can ground these very eccentric and quantum ideas and practically and realistically do things with them. I promise you, my friends, this is going to be that small period where you experience profound breakthrough in the art of telekinesis, or in taking a lot of these ideas and really physically doing things with them. It's going to retrograde though, and then we're going to kind of have to teach our minds and bodies to get used to this shift, and then it'll eventually go forward again. And the king comes to the North Node now is what's going to gift and bless us, if I may say so myself, with the necessary awareness of how we can shift this awareness to the destiny of our hearts. One thing that the first Deccan of Saturn will feature, as now we're in the Peacemobile, is once again not only the shifting of Chiron and Uranus, but the North Node into Cancer. Okay. So with that being said, let's get a nice visual. January, we see this shift 3 degrees. And once again, I just want you to really embrace, once Saturn does go into Capricorn, all right, we go from Capricorn season, which ushers this in. Capricorn season is going to literally give us the initial awareness of what we're realizing. We'll have Mercury join the party as Venus leads in Aquarius. Okay. And then while we're getting this awareness and realization, it's sextiling both Neptune and Jupiter. So this is really us feeling into the depths of how we can apply this power. Keep that in mind, because the next month, of course, we have the eclipse. And once we have that lunar eclipse in Leo, this is really establishing the knowledge needed so that we can follow our hearts more intelligently with this added extra power. Remember now, everything happening so far is just you realizing the real true strength of your power. Okay. And then of course we have Aries season. Aries season is actually important because, well, I missed Pisces season. Pisces season is, of course, once we get an initial experience of what's to come. So Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces season is going to give you a sneak peek of what's possible with the realization of this energy. And this is what's going to have us move forward into Aries season. Aries season is when we're going to have that initial battle. When we start the new year, this is when you're going to come into the realization of why you need these powers. When people start directly psychically attacking you in front of your face. All right, this Mars conjunct Saturn square to the sun will kick this off instantly, while we also feature a retrograde with Jupiter. All right. And then, of course, it's not until Taurus season that we start to see these shift. And I think it's kind of interesting. Chiron will officially shift into Aries, but the sun will be shifting with Uranus. I mean, it'll be closer into Gemini once it shifts, but still important to keep in mind. So this is also important now because the first retrograde we'll have kicks off April 17th of 2018. And I think there's heavy symbolism into Saturn retrograding while we kick off the new year. I see this as Saturn opening the bridge, like the bridge closes once it goes in, and then it's extending the bridge, and then and it's gonna travel with us into the new year, and then it's gonna retrograde and review, so that while we're uncovering the next season and the next year of how we build with this power, we're going to be gaining acceptance. Because once again, a whole lot about this realization is going to bring up a lot of blockages that you suppressed, and maybe some unconscious aspects of your character that you now have to accept. So this acceptance period could be a bit painful for those of you who refuse to let go of certain aspects of yourself. This is going to be basically Aries season and Virgo season. So keep that in mind, because Aries season and Virgo season, as I always say, is the first half of the new year where you have to put in the most work to build up on the skills that you've seen evolve during the second part of Libra season to Pisces season, where you have to show up. And I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I will be going through acceptance during this major part. You'll be directly moving major blockages during this period and accepting aspects of your character that you were audited with the integrity that Saturn wanted to check if you had or didn't. The grand karmic shifts, of course, speak to the shifting of the nodes, as we will now look into. So as you can see with this retrograde, Uranus moves into Taurus, and the nodes will get ready to move into Cancer, which I think is also important. Interestingly enough, another reason why we have this shift, another interesting point, Saturn also wanted to retrograde to catch up with these two, because this trine that Uranus retrograde and Saturn retrograde will enact a greater, more quantum awareness of how to directly apply this power physically to your body in ways you can materialize and create because of this fifth house aspect. So keep that in mind, because this will eventually retrograde back into Aries and Pisces. And it's like you're downshifting to be like, aha, that's how we do it. That's what it's for. All right. And then, of course, Saturn will go direct again. And as Saturn goes direct and these move back into the signs, the North Node officially shifts into Cancer. And we begin the North Node in Cancer transit that will establish more sincerity through the mastery of our integrity. Pay very close attention during this first Deccan transit, because the South Node, even though it's going to be very far away from Saturn initially, you're going to feel that. Now Pluto and Saturn are on the South Node, and there is a heavy karmic realignment and purification process that's taking the knowledge of the karma that we downloaded while I was in Aquarius and making real constructive, practical decisions and moves to not only transform your personal karma and the collective karma, but to develop new emotional sincerity, because you're going to feel differently once you make the decisions to transform and change certain facets of your past life forever. Oh, look, and there's a Venus retrograde. If you like those, interestingly enough, it's in Libra too. So the square it'll be making to Cap is going to be very, very, very disruptive to relationships, to where anyone you're with that's not living their truth by this point, it's done. It's open forever, forever. It's over. Okay. Don't worry. It'll be replaced with new relationships. It'll be a complete replacement because of this North Node. It's like, doop, switch. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, we move into the 19th where this moves, or the 20th where this moves to the second decan. So I think that's amazing. I think the first thing to notice is that we go one decan for 365 days. Okay. So in one decan of realization, including the retrograde, we feature Jupiter shifting into Sagittarius, the North Node shifting into Cancer, and even Uranus and Chiron briefly touring Aries and Taurus, or Taurus and Aries respectively. So let's talk about what that really means, because not only is this realization occurring, the sun is getting ready to form a semi-sextile with Jupiter, which is taking the depth of psychic wisdom that can help us maneuver our mystical experiences and now come into the full meaning of anything that we might still be in the dark about. Not going to lie, though, that Jupiter square Neptune is just going to open up a whole new awareness of possibility and delusion, but still fun magic. Not going to lie. It's just as we step into the next decan of this transit, we start to be far more aware of how brilliant we are and what we can do with this. Really keep December 20th in check, because this perfect trine to this, while this is squaring that, is going to key you in to how much more you need to learn about yourself. 29 degrees Uranus and Aries is when you really fully understand this super quantum self you are. Then it goes into Taurus and you start to ground certain stuff for real, and it retrogrades. So it's like, ooh, there's certain stuff about me that I didn't even realize. And you're going to come to the full realization finally, while this is really ready to move into the sign. So that's a little bit of the second decan. And this is where we step into integration. Once again, that first decan of realization is what will bring in a few montage scenes for you to accept the development of your character and how certain old facets of you are done forever, like gone. Saturn cycles really bring in the next chapter. Jupiter cycles, if anything, just bring in an exuberance and feeling. But structural changes happen with Saturn. And the main transits for this integration are the direct sextile Saturn will be making to Neptune, even though it'll be sextiling Neptune the entire transit. And then, of course, the brief semi-sextile that Saturn will make into Jupiter, amongst other important transits that we will speak of. This, of course, is the first part of the second decan transit. Okay. And this second decan, going from the 19th to the 5th of April, is going to integrate with everything that we're doing, everything that we've realized about ourselves. This will also feature new opportunities to expand and, or rather, build upon what you're ready to implement. This is where you're going to really start to gain wonder with the world you're building. But that semi-sextile to Jupiter can make things a bit confusing, as Jupiter, with its 12th house effect, will be keying you into radical unconscious ways of seeing into the meaning of what you're building. And it's really the square Jupiter will be making to Neptune that will key you into certain illogical and irrational emotional impulses that feel super right. And it's Saturn in between these two that will give you the context you need to actually make sense of this all, so that you don't get too lost in the awareness of how to understand this said transit. Saturn keying you into the integrity you'll integrate into your life will let you know how to decipher between illusions and actually spiritually insightful awareness. Because the good thing about Jupiter and Sagittarius squaring Neptune and Pisces is this is going to open up brand new, more efficient ways. It doesn't have to be new, but it's going to open up more amazing ways to connect with the divine. But if you're not grounded in your integrity, you're really just going to be looking stupid, like really stupid. Okay. Because you don't know who you are. So once again, as we kick off this next Deccan, we're going to start again in Capricorn season, which is a yearly reminder. I think that's very symbolic. How like we start off the first Deccan with the sun in Capricorn, and then we start off the second Deccan with the sun in Capricorn again. Mercury and Pluto still here. So we're going to have Venus trine Mars, which is awesome. And it's just more or less going to indicate a level of really seeing how much you've grown in a short year. This is also going to be the Deccan that will indicate how successful you're going to be with this. So trust me when I say you want to do all the hard work that first Deccan. Some of you may not necessarily be able to get everything you need in place before Saturn enters Capricorn. Worry not. If you bust your ass that first Deccan, you'll be able to deal with the second Deccan, which I feel might be the most challenging. Even though the most intense by far will be the last Deccan, the second Deccan is really going to show you what you're made of. Because now you're going to have to integrate the realization of your power with other people who may not know how to integrate that. And this is going to require more compromise than you may know how to deal with initially, especially with this Saturn Mars square that will intensify during January and a bit of February before it moves out. It's definitely going to test how realistically you can handle conflict. The integration is making sure you understand the great responsibility aspect. So the realization is the with great power, and the second Deccan is the comes with great responsibility. Sorry. The with great power is the first Deccan, and then the second Deccan is comes great responsibility. So this could be a period where you're having to grind a lot more to the stone. We step into March where noun Uranus officially begins its Taurus transit, and Chiron is for sure going to be in Aries, which is, I think, cool that we have the awareness of that there. And right before we begin that next Deccan, we retrograde. Well, it steps in there, but it does retrograde. Okay. And now the retrograde of this transit is where, with this integration, you have to make major life choices. So, just to reiterate, these major life choices will have everything to do with the foundation you build for yourself during this first decade, where you're very profoundly having to come to terms with who you are. Saturn during the first decade in 2018. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, I have to correct that. I'm sorry, guys. I want to make sure I got that right because I think it's actually, yeah, 2019. Let me fix that. There we go. Yeah, that should be right. So, um, I have to fix this. My bad, guys. But yeah, from 2019, oops, to September of 2019. Oh, oops. This is where, of course, we have to take a whole lot of the foundation you build in 2018, all right, to now make decisions with. There's a very connected part of this Saturn transit where if you screw up the first part, then the rest is going to be a royal screw up. It's just going to be, you're going to need a miracle to kind of not, deal with what's going to occur. The reason why you have to really come to face with what you have to accept 2018 is because 2019 you have to make major life choices. So during 2018, when Saturn keeps it real with you, because Neptune is going to be like, you can be this 7-year-old girl. You can be whoever you want to be. Don't worry about the restrictions of this reality. Just go with how you feel. And then Saturn's like, look, homie, you're not a 7-year-old girl. You are in your 40s. You have children. I don't care about these lies other people are telling you. You have to come to terms with who you are. And so the 2019 is when, after the acceptance, you now have to make a major life choice. Are you going to continue being this 7-year-old girl, even though you're a man in your 40s and 50s? Or are you going to make that major life choice to accept who you really are and build off of that? This is going to indicate the reevaluation of integration. This is where you have to review everything you've been integrating, because there's going to be a rift. Certain things and people who you begin this path of greatness, 2018, you may not end with. And this happens during life where many are called and few are chosen. But even with that few who are chosen, not all of them make it through. And a lot of people can lose their way the second retrograde. It's very, 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 very important that you choose your victory. You have to choose your greatness. You're going to have people giving you BS ultimatums, and all of this distraction is just meant to take you off that path. Everything you do has to choose victory. And 2018, once again, is the realization of who you are. So you're more profoundly aware of what victory truly means to you because you know who you are. You're realizing this. And you have to maintain integrity through the confusion, because this is what's going to allow you to stay true to who you are when there are all sorts of tests, to really make sure you really are serious about what you are, or if you're just still playing the, well, I believe this, but I'm not sure if I really do. This isn't going to be a challenging period for everyone. This is actually going to be a very powerful period for those of you who have already accepted yourselves. These major life choices are definitely going to actually accelerate a whole lot in your favor, as opposed to slow you down. Remember, in every decision during these retrograde, you must choose victory. Okay. And to jump back into the peace mobile, which for those of you guys in the live chat, well, let's hold off on that. But yeah, Saturn now retrograding the second decade will begin to feature the conjunction to the South Node, made more exact during Cancer season. July of 2019 is going to be epic. July of 2019, as we make this is going to be where this major life choice is made. And you're going to have opportunities open up that align very deeply with how you feel about certain things. But this could oppose with the structured plans you already have. And you have to make sure that they come into great balance, because ultimately the lesson is the North Node. And this is just filling you in with more authentic feelings about what you do so that they can come to alignment. You'll find with the square to Aries, Chiron in Aries is humbling a lot of where we might have seen our ego wrong. And this could be very harsh with this T square, but it's going to be very rewarding, once again, for people who are honest with themselves, especially as we're still having this square that can confuse a lot of people who refuse to practice discernment, but will enlighten and ascend people who do practice discernment. So keep that in mind. Just want to keep that there. July of 2019 is super clutch. This is where you're going to be making that major life decision once again. And make sure you choose victory. Make sure what you choose honors the South Node and also honors the North Node. And if you happen to be a Cancer or Capricorn, good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck. As we continue, shoot, if you're an Aries or a Libra, good luck to you too. This is going to be like the hugest test for cardinal signs, by the way. Saturn in Capricorn is the test of cardinal signs to whether you deserve your power or not. And anyone misabusing their power as a cardinal sign or with cardinal sign energy, it's a retrograde like this where it could be taken off from you. You could be thrown in jail or ostracized. So it's so important that you have integrity, because a lot of what you think people won't be looking at, people will be looking and knowing. But if you live in integrity, you don't have to worry about that. So once again, as we finish the next decade, and let's just kind of reiterate, because I think I went a little bit too fast with that, but the retrograde occurs, of course, near Gemini season, moving into Libra. So for 2019, remember now, the first decade kind of got us here, and then we went through the first half here, and then it retrograded a little bit up to here, and then bam. And it going direct while we have this square is going to be another major life choice on what is the disposition of how you're going to integrate this awareness towards very key important people in relationships with you. In the sense where with Mars here, how are you going to show up? Because it's going to be a little different. You're not going to show up like you did when Saturn was in Sagittarius and you just had to experience. Now you're going to have to make some life-changing decisions that could burn bridges or evolve relationships on the spot. This could also simultaneously be a period where you uncover really, really great breakthroughs that change your life forever because of the integrity and the realness you kept with yourself and thus others. And now, with that being said, This is where we finish off the second Deccan. Oh, my bad, guys. Oh, this is embarrassing. That makes a lot of sense now. So it's actually the 19th, and this is what I think is so interesting about this, is I'll say real quick. So it's gonna, of course, once again, go direct from April 5th to December 19th of 2019. And we'll have Saturn sextiling Neptune again and semi-sextiling Jupiter. But it's also going to be conjunct the South Node. Uh-huh. Cool. So I have north south. Oops. Okay. Don't worry, we're gonna have a break soon. After we're done with the third Deccan. So, okay, you meant a break from Saturn trend, but yeah, we're gonna have a break soon. So, yeah, that conjunction to the South Node during this transit is what's going to give us the second half of this integration, to where now we're not only integrating the lessons of realization and the structural changes in our life, but we're also aligning this with not our heart's destiny, but our soul's destiny. Definitely a very pivotal time as we once again transition into the revolution that is Aquarius. So we want to snapshot this here. We're going to go from Libra season, right? And the sextile that this is making to Neptune as we integrate now is pushing forward during this Neptune retrograde a heightened realization now of how we can control and evolve the quality of our own imagination and subconscious influences. As you'll find, the way you interact with it is way different. The way you even let certain things tempt you, you have so much more power. It's going to open up a new set of challenges, but you'll find so much growth from now until then, which is important to embrace. Of course, as we move forward, the sun will move the next 3 chapters from Libra to Sag, and then look at this again. The 20th or the 19th of 2019, Saturn reaches the third Deccan. And for all intents and purposes, it's basically during the Saturn transit. So the sun will be back in Capricorn while Saturn is transiting the third Deccan. So December 27th, 2019 is definitely a date you want to keep in mind for obvious reasons. You want to see this as like December, January 2020, the beginning of this final Saturn chapter. We have like three decans, 3 chapters. And the 2019-2020 arc is pushing us into mastery. And with Jupiter here now, this is where we're going to not only master this power, but we're going to see this sprout and evolve to its max. It's not every time that we have power deconstruction, power cementation, and then power evolution. But when you have Pluto breaking down the false structures, Saturn creating and laying the cement on new structures, and then Jupiter evolving it to its max, anything is literally possible. And this is going to be super lit for more reasons than one. Definitely an interesting period. And this is where the work of integration you've done has now fully manifested to a degree, literally degree, to where you can now not only build on top of this, but master it. This is where you've broken even, and now everything you do moving forward is just your profit. Keep that in mind, because this Sun Jupiter conjunction that will start the next yearly Jupiter cycle is on the South Node. And the South Node in astrology is your resource, and the North Node is the yearly challenge. So the resource we have now is all this galactic knowledge that we're channeling, so that we can use this galactic knowledge to really open up what our hearts want. The resource we're going to have for this South Node Capricorn is all the power in the world. The power, the supernatural power and integrity of your character, and the full realization of who you are, so that you can now birth new sincere feelings about how that feels, which will open up way to greater empathy. Shout out to you North Node and Cancer people. This is definitely the greatest nodal return you could ever have, and the most challenging nodal return. All right. Huge. Very huge. And that leads us, of course, like I said, to that third decan. Saturn, which has been conjuncting Pluto, the whole transit, will now fully start to conjunct it. And this is where we really experience profoundly that intensity. Saturn will be conjuncting Pluto, Jupiter, and Mars for a brief time. And this is where we're going to experiencing the complete bust of the system. Whatever revolution will start to occur will be so much more intense and mark the cumulative nature of Pluto's cycle back into Capricorn. Because I feel like I'm pretty sure when Pluto entered Aquarius last time, Jupiter and Saturn were not involved. They might have passed by indirectly, but they weren't all there together. At the last degrees. Shit's huge. So once again, this mastery is just pushing forward. This is like when your body has taken so much reps, and then you feel like Saturn has worn your body out, and all you have is your willpower, and you just keep on hitting more when you feel like you have no more power. Although you're going to experience this as the mastery of your power. So this third decan is where you have you've gained mastery of yourself. All right. Like, keep in mind, we're going to have certain people who are 5 years old. We're going to have certain people who are 16 or just born. So it's safe to say they won't be gaining mastery. But any one of you who is stepping into your Saturn return, for those of you who have Saturn in Aquarius or Pisces, this is interesting because you will also still be gaining mastery. See, Saturn in Aquarius and Pisces are advanced ascended master Saturns. So you get your learning before that. You're more advanced at a younger age. But you won't get your mastery until your Saturn return. But just keep that in mind. This mastery is going to be a mastery in how fierce and determined you are to protect your integrity and express it with no shame. And that conjunction, once again, to Jupiter and Pluto, all decan, will bring the greatness out of everything. But see, just because the greatness is being brought out does not mean that it's a good thing. This is going to force certain situations to just combust on itself because the energy is too powerful. Can you imagine children born during this age? Which one of you are going to have a kid who's born during this decan? Which one of you are going to have a child who's born December 27th? Because you can plan this and you can knock your partner up. You can knock your partner up Aries season and just have a Capricorn. Wait, I don't think that's how that works. Hold on. If you had a kid right now in Sag, you would have a Virgo because bloop, bloop, right? So if you had a kid in Aries, you would have a Cap. So yeah, if any of you want like the most powerful children that you probably won't ever be able to tell what to do, like the kids being born now, you want to have a kid April 2018 or April 2019. And then you'll give birth to this apocalypse child, antichrist. No, I'm just joking. Regardless, the children being born around this period will embody the structural changes and the greatness that they're meant to carry forth. Probably one of the most powerful kids in existence. And right now, the most powerful people are the 89, 90, 91 Capricorns that have that Saturn power. This is it coming around again. Okay. I might have a kid just so I can develop some Saturn and Capricorn lineage. I'm just joking. But yeah, that would be kind of cool. Once again, as we move forward, though, this Deccan of Mastery is going to incorporate everything you've learned. You guys need to pray for me during this time because January 20th to January 26th, my moon is 23 degrees Capricorn and my Saturn is 24 degrees Capricorn. So when I'm getting my Saturn return, my soul is probably going to be dying. Shout out to those of you who also have this here. I'd be lucky to be alive. I really don't know if I'm gonna still be here. I mean, look at this. And then Jupiter be on my Neptune. Jesus Christ. So, you know, for those of you having Saturn returns, this is especially at the last decade of this, it's just going to be like super, super, super incredible. And it may take all of your focus and fortitude to survive. Okay. But you don't have to worry about dying. I'm just being dramatic. Keep in mind that once again, the mastery of this energy will incorporate a necessity and need for you to be willing to move with actions that reflect who you really are at the core to your soul. Because integrity is the physical acceptance of your sincerity. To have integrity means to be sincere because you're honest about how you feel and you take actions based off that honesty, which only powerful people can do. Because if you're sincere about how you feel, you're going to piss off some people. And it's only wishy-washy people that will lack integrity just so that they don't piss off certain people versus someone of integrity who knows who they are and they're going to stick to that. That's why you have some Capricorn people that come off as stuck up when they just know themselves. So, once again, as we shift from December, I think it's interesting that it's May of 2020 that this shifts. So we go from December to May. That's not a long time. That's a short third decade, but I'll show you why. We start, of course, from Capricorn season. Oh, oops, I missed that. March? Yeah, March 22nd. So Capricorn season to Aries, 4 months. That's one chapter. Now, of course, Saturn will retrograde back into Capricorn, but Saturn's retrograde back into Capricorn is officially a part of the Saturn and Aquarius transit. So we won't talk on that. Saturn, the purpose of Saturn retrograding into Capricorn, which we can show, I don't mind doing so, is so that it could usher in the transit with Jupiter. As you can see these retrogrades, this period is where we break free into the initial stages of revolution, and we need to restructure how we're going to go about it. All right. Very interesting to see who's going to be president during this time. And then, of course, they both go direct, and we have both of them together. December 21st. Come on, guys. What's going on here? Like, there's no coincidence that we're going to have Mercury and the Sun conjunct while Saturn and Jupiter are 0 degrees on the winter solstice. This is huge. This is too huge. That square to Uranus is going to change everything. So Congratulations, my friends. This is the Saturn transit that's amongst us. Pluto will be dead conjunct my moon, and Mars will be squaring that mug. So if you like the way I channel things now, Jesus, I will be voting for Kanye 2020. Bet on that. And yeah, my friends, this particular Deccan of Mastery that will first feature 2019 into Aries season before it initially goes into Aquarius. And then we're literally going to see the whole 2020 into Capricorn once it retrogrades and goes direct again. So this mastery is going to implement and incorporate another shifting of the nodes with the North Node into Gemini on my sun. And it's very pivotal to incorporate how Saturn shifting through Capricorn gives us the destiny lesson of our hearts, souls, and minds, to where we end this transit starting a revolution, trining into the destiny of truth. Very pivotal. We have to get through this swamp of Cancer first, this ocean of depth, aka death, and then we make it to the sky and we start to uncover the truth of the universe, because we now have this supernatural ability to tap further in to the sky. We'll start to have our false flag alien attacks during this period, but hopefully we'll have gathered enough tenacity to deal with it. 5 years later, this will go into Aquarius. Alrighty. So with that being said, I'm going to give us a short break so that we could recoup. That being said, I'd really love your feedback. We're going to, when we come back from the break, we're going to go into the zodiac signs and kind of interpret what to expect from that. But and then after that, we're going to take questions and answers. So yeah, any thoughts on this once again so far? I hope I did a good job of explaining this, and I hope you're excited about the greatness that we're going to kind of derive from this. All right, let's do this. Thank you so much, Morgan. Thank you, Euretha. Sometimes I can get a little bit too hard on myself, so I'll feel like it's not good enough. So I really do appreciate the feedback. Good stuff, y'all. Thank you guys so much. All right, one and all. If you give me another 3 to 5 minutes, I should be ready. And once again, before we get into the zodiac signs and the rising and how this transit will affect you, um, how personally, just kind of meditate or think about how you personally are ready to harness this Saturn and Sagittarius transit, like, or Capricorn transit, before you per se understand how this will affect you individually. You could even write down, for those of you in the live chat, what is it that you're personally excited for? What is it that you're ready to let go of? What is it that you don't want to move forward into 2018 with? And just kind of think about what you're ready to. You may find some of these repeated when I go through the signs, but yeah, just kind of keep your mind focused on that, and then we'll resume very shortly. Alrighty, it's time to get this show back on the road. Oh, let's do it. And let's go. So we will be starting off with Aries, Aries rising, and Aries moon. Whether this is your rising sign or not, however, I still encourage you to follow along, as you will really uncover very relevant knowledge and wisdom and information through such. Okay. One moment. All righty, Aries, realizing greatness is going to be the theme for you. And this is going to incorporate a very profound need to take your public image super seriously. With Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter that will be in your 10th house, you will have to face an initial rejection of who you are from the world so that you can decide whether to stand up for yourself fully or break through greater respect by implementing a greater way of carving out this integrity. A huge reason why this will be such a very pivotal period for you with Jupiter that will be shifting from your 8th and 9th house into your 10th, give you this 3-step do-si-do of fully embracing the transformation and uncovering of the meaning of such before you push it forward when Jupiter joins the party. So just keep in mind, this will really have much to do with how well you develop a strong sense of sincerity through the greatness you bring. The North Node that will be transiting your 4th house will be uncovering greater depth of how you can take your public life that you're building and ground it into something amazingly private. But once again, this is really just going to highlight the need to fully represent who you are. And the whole stage of kind of putting together your package is you're now ready to gain so much world presence that you can find a mini breakthrough. When the cards are evoked now, as someone mentioned, there are a lot of wands present. And this is definitely going to be quite the passionate phase. And you can already clearly see a theme here. All right. We have the Page of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles, which I see as two different facets or two different people. If anything, I want you to see this as the beginning, the middle, and the end of this Saturn transit, the Jupiter in Scorpio, Jupiter in Sag, and Jupiter in Cap chapters. Okay. And The overall theme of your Saturn in Capricorn is very much so victory and celebration. So no matter what challenges you undergo, Saturn in Capricorn is where you accomplish the hard work it has taken to really become who you have become. Okay. Many of you may be graduating certain institutions or getting married, and you're going to fully realize your greatness. Once again, the four of wands is going to indicate how profoundly you're in a position to not only realize this greatness, but also gain a greater sense of discernment. So there's alternate interpretations of this. The first is speaking of you dealing with the young whippersnapper who sees what you have and wants to join in. But I think, Aries, you've been so hurt, you've been so beat up. It's like you may want, you may be a little bit closed off on someone new and an exciting new ally. This Page of Wands is talking about a new friend that you're going to make. The Page of Wands is an exciting message, but it's also it's also a new friend. It's also somebody who's quite exciting. And you might be a bit closed off, but eventually you'll build a healthy beginning with this individual. Okay. Um, the next interpretation is both of them are you, and you're going to gain a very initial spark and rediscovery of your passion that will lead into discernment. And what I want you to keep in mind is 2018, you're going to be very on fire. You're going to step in and realize your power. And then 2019, the Nine of Wands is speaking on the Nine of Wands is speaking on you being in a position to not give up, if that makes sense. And not only not give up, but also keep perseverance. Whatever you've gotten excited about, you're going to, in a very profound sense, be in a position to fully hold tenacity for it, and then you'll break through with the Ace of Pentacles to where you're finishing that celebration with a greater sense of manifestation, and you're laying the seeds, okay, for a new life, if anything. So that's your Saturn in Capricorn. Just once again to reiterate, it is a lot of passion, it is a lot of fire that you'll be evoking, and yeah, you'll be able to do a whole lot with such. All right, as we move forward to Taurus, Saturn in your ninth house is going to bless you with a very incredible philosophy. This incredible philosophy is going to incorporate a lot of how your beliefs have been transforming greatly since 2008. Taurus rising, Taurus moon, this applies to you as well. And there is going to be such a powerful structural element to how well you will have so much faith in what you believe. It's not even going to be faith, it's just going to be absolute certainty. Especially with Neptune, that'll be transiting your 11th as Jupiter tours your 7th, 8th, and then 9th house, opening up a great chapter of bringing people in your life who align with those beliefs. A whole lot of how you see the world will not only be structured to align with your awareness of this philosophy, but also key you in to a greater awareness and understanding of how to teach the world. Taurus, this is going to set you up to be an amazing teacher. All right. This is going to set you up to be an amazing surveyor of knowledge that has so much practical experience, because it took a while to really understand what it is you had to learn. And the South Node that will be moving out of your 4th into your 3rd will develop the attitude needed. So as you're developing this incredible philosophy, destiny will help teach you what words and how to sincerely express this philosophy so that you empathize with others. You gain empathy, then you teach those beliefs. Okay. Do not at all be turned off by the tarot cards, because I think they tell a different story than you think. The Ace of Wands is the overall theme. So similar to Aries, Taurus, you're going to have so much excitement. Saturn in Capricorn is where a great spark will be birthed. Some of you can give birth to a new child. Some of you can invent a new legacy. This is the bee's knees. But get this, Taurus, this is you. You're going to start Saturn in Capricorn successful. You were distracted a whole lot, but that Saturn in your Sagittarius transit was meant to build strength. You're going to start Saturn in Capricorn completely successful. The world card is talking about completion and success. This Ace of Wands card, Taurus, is coming from someone else. You're going to get this spark from a very important partner that Jupiter and Scorpio is going to bring to you, whether you're with them or they're new. All right, there's newness that this 5 of Cups is bringing. So you're going to establish your success the first part of Saturn and Capricorn 2018. And then during 2018, because I feel all of this is going to happen the whole transit, right? But this is talking about someone who's completely heartbroken. If anything, this is going to be personally mirroring Taurus certain disappointments that you're fully, really, finally going to conclude. And this will lead to a new stage. But Taurus, I'm going to be real with you. Someone is going to realize that they messed up and they didn't give you the chance that they should have given you before. And the reason why they feel so distraught is because look at you. You're so successful. You're not even paying attention to this. I think Taurus, you may be curving someone this whole transit. And the reason why this is the main part of this is, you know what I'm saying? I get the sense you and this individual will connect because this wand is beneficial to you. But just keep in mind that a lot of this is going to center towards 2018 and the success you culminate. And as you turn around and move forward, you're going to see this individual, a soulmate of yours that could be a friend, a business partner, a spouse, who is now ready to open up and do something that they could have done before, but now that they see that you have this success. So just keep that in mind. That's really the lesson that I have for you here. It's really speaking more about the conclusion of something that will lead into a new spark. But I seriously don't see this as you being heartbroken, because if we just look at the context of the picture, it's like this 5 of Cups is giving this ace to the world. And this 5 of Cups has a broken heart. So don't be put off by the broken heart, because it's your incredible philosophy that's going to teach this person that they can have light and joy in their life again. And this could really represent a lot of people who look to you for guidance, because they're going to see you got it all together, Taurus. You worked hard for this. Gemini, we have complete transformation for you. And this complete transformation is going to incorporate a staunch sense of celebration and wit. Really, though, this is going to be the spiritual warfare of your life, to where you have to fight tooth and nail to take your power back from energetic vampires who you've allowed in your space. Pluto is going to work with Saturn to kick them out and keep them out so that you take your power back. God damn it. And Jupiter, transiting your sixth, seventh, and subsequently your eighth, will be putting your lifestyle in order for then you to manifest amazing relationships that will require the greatest boundaries. Okay. This transformation, Gemini, is years in the making, and it's finally going to have you integrate and balance the energy between you and the shadow side of your personality, to where Gemini risings, Gemini moons after the Saturn transit, they will never be the same. Trust me, the Geminis going into this transit will not come out the same. They'll be completely transformed. All the habits that have been getting in your way, it's going to finally be killed by force, to where you have to develop new habits. And I really like that first card, the Four of Swords. It's a symbolic death. Actually, the Four of Swords is speaking of great rest, finally. And that's what I love about this Three of Cups, the Saturn and Capricorn transit. Even though it's going to be challenging for everyone, and you too, Gemini, this is going to be great celebration, to where you can finally connect with real friends. And you're going to be establishing successful unions. Jupiter will be in your seventh when it's in Sag, and you also will be succeeding. All right. I love the Three of Cups. It's one of the most fun cards in the tarot. And that Four of Swords is you in 2018 starting the transit off really able to relax, which is kind of counterintuitive because you're going to be going through a lot of stressful transits. But then again, Saturn just went through your sign, Gemini. So you finally get to relax. You and Sagittarius and Pisces and Virgo might have your own mini party because you can finally relax, and you're going to get some rest. You're not going to have any major planets opposing you until Jupiter, and that's not even going to be bad. So do what you can to relax and to rest. The Page of Pentacles is definitely now keying in to taking a lot of your grounded work and manifesting a new stage with it. You're going to find that this complete transformation will have a lot to do with you working on your beauty and really working on self-nurturing yourself. The Page of Pentacles now speaks when people start to take care of their fashion and their grooming, and this will lead to that star. Okay, you're going to be dying to the old you with that Four of Swords, and you're going to reborn as this greater realized star. And I also see this, Gemini, as an encounter with a star and someone who recognizes your talent, because the Page of Pentacles is offering up, which is talking about your manifestation, to this star who's already established in their field. So Gemini, this is also going to be talking about the friendship with someone who could be famous, or someone who very much so recognizes your talent and wants to bond with you. But this is also reflecting into your star power that you're fully going to step into. So, I mean, those of you tuning into the Peace Dealer, you're going to be, after this transit, I'm not going to have my lips chapped. You're going to see my hair all cut. I'm going to be looking all sexy all the time. You know what I'm saying? I won't be ashy anymore. It's going to be lit. Cancer. We have power restoration. Oops. I need to change that. It's not power restoration. Power restoration was actually for Gemini initially. Cancer, this is supposed to be fated partnerships. And this indeed has also been very powerfully in the making, because Pluto has been in your seventh, making you realize that every single person you interact with is either an energetic vampire or you're an energetic vampire for them. And you're having to draw intense boundaries with people one on one. And it could be very stressful. Okay. Not only can it be very stressful, but Jupiter, that's been transiting your fifth house now, is opening up deeper love in your heart and creative ability, so that once it goes from your fifth into your sixth and eventually your seventh, you're creating the foundation for powerful and fated partnerships to evolve to the next level. Okay. And I can totally see how the Eight of Swords is your underlying theme. Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter, that'll be opposite your sun, is going to make you so insecure. Chiron is going to be in your 10th house in Aries, and you're really going to have to overcome any insecurities about being how you feel with other people. And it can be very difficult because you deal with emotions that you can't always speak on, especially because some of those emotions aren't yours. And most people will gaslight you if you try and say, "Hey, bitch, I'm feeling your shit." My bad. But that's just to capture the angst of the frustration cancers can go through. Don't get it twisted though, Cancer. This is talking about you transcending this issue. So after Saturn and Capricorn, you're going to be this Three of Wands, succeeding in business and in trade. And you are already powerful, Cancer. So you need to take this goddamn blindfold off, and every single negative thought that you have must be replaced with a positive thought. It's not going to be easy. You're walking into this transit with great praise. So this is why I'm saying, like, you're very insecure, but you kind of don't have to be, because like you're actually doing something of substance. Like, you have everything to be confident about. All right. And you're really not going to sense much of this insecurity until 2019, when Jupiter starts to transit your sixth and Saturn starts to go to that second decan. I really like the message of this, Cancer, because you're walking into this with victory, and you're ending the Saturn transit with victory. You're ending the Saturn transit planning out the next 3 years of your life and having such a powerful vision that you'll be making great business decisions and you'll really be stepping into more success. But that hangman requires surrendering your insecurities. You are going to have a difficult period in the middle of this transit where there will really be anything you can do. And you have to kind of surrender to the fated level of this partnerships, where you're kind of joining with people that have such powerful influence over your life and can create powerful things with you that you may not be able to even compromise all the way with. And yet you're still going to have to, because the North Node is going to be on your sign. And Leo is going to pass the torch to you, Cancer, before you pass it to Gemini. And you'll be leading people in how to not only feel and how to express sincerity, but balancing that with the intensity of integrity that you have to hold others to, and others will hold you to. But worry not, you make it through that. This is an initiation and a transformation of character that will not only give you great courage and confidence, but you'll be even more at the top of your game. Okay? You just have to really let go. You have to let go of the lie that you're not good enough, Cancer. That's a lie. That's a lie. You have to let go of the lie that you're a hot mess. You can be, and sometimes you are. But that's not the real you. The real you is like better than most of the other zodiac signs, and you know this. So own it. Leo. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? Okay. Yeah, I made this mistake too. This is the last mistake though. Leo is going to be living the life. And the lesson here is to very powerfully bring out the greatness of your lifestyle. So trust me, you won't be living the life initially, Leo, but you're going to be putting in so much important work because Capricorn is a workhouse to you. So the Page of Pentacles, the Ace of Pentacles makes perfect sense. This is definitely talking about you opening up a brand new financial opportunity. Some of you may be literally expanding your business. Some of you may be going into a new phase. Some of you may be having a new gift, right? And it's really just talking about creating the life that you want to live so that by the time the Saturn transit is over, you have like 5 Rolls Royces. You're living the greatest lifestyle you could ever have. You have like yacht parties. Some of you Leos, you're not even into all those luxuries. So a great lifestyle to you could just be having all the freedom you need to live your humble life in maybe a remote area. But there's going to be intense changes to your routine. And the name of the game is behavioral transformation. Similar to Gemini, you are going to be shedding bad habits forever that get in the way of you fully harnessing the moment because you may be trying to control too many elements of your lifestyle instead of just setting the commitment and just sticking to it, which seems weird to say, but still will implement Neptune's transit in your 8th, making it difficult to shed certain addictions or emotional addictions, or just kind of dissolve what you feel is real. Jupiter, of course, will be transiting from your 4th, 5th, and eventually 6th house, delving up from Scorpio the depth of feeling you need to create new talents when it's in your 5th, and then apply these talents to your work. If anything, Leo, this is going to take the work you do and establish it to the next level of legitimacy. But this is going to require every day this transit, a consistency and commitment of integrity that will kind of show you and others that you really do live this life. And once again, the Ace of Pentacles is a healthy new beginning. So take advantage of any financial opportunities and put in all that work, because we kind of have similar cards with Aries. Interestingly enough, it looks like whereas Aries, right, is dealing with a skeptical figure. I thought this skeptical figure was Aries, but it looks like this could be Aries. And Leo, this might be you. So Aries and Leo, Aries rising, Leo rising, you're very much linked this year. Okay. And it's interesting, Leo. I really feel this is you because this page had to go through a competition, a screening process. The 5 of Wands is very competitive. And this page seems like to be the one who made it out this 5. And now you're analyzing them and seeing and making sure, you know, the discernment's there. But individually, this is also talking about, you know what I mean, you having to gain courage through challenge and strength through challenge. All right. I totally see you at a mini circular level or cyclical level, gaining more confidence in yourself to where you win a competition. And this could be competing with other entrepreneurs, or it doesn't also have to be competition as much as recreational activity. Don't be fooled by these wands. It's actually going to be a pretty fun period. But the 9 of Wands is definitely talking about reviewing your experience moving forward and, you know, gaining a whole lot of wisdom. But let's just be real. This Page of Wands is offering this 9 of Wands a proposition. And this is kind of like, this is like someone competing over you, or you competing over someone. This could kind of work reflexively. All right. Fire is very competitive. So it makes sense that Aries and Leo share the same cards. But I do see the theme of this page winning out of this 5, and it's presenting it to the 9, which will also mark this healthy beginning. Okay. So take that context into however you will. Virgo, we have powerful creative ventures for you. And these powerful creative ventures will implement the fifth house stellium activation of Pluto and Saturn that will very intensely, seriously develop your talents and make it so that you're making money off those talents in some constructive element. So if you still have been having issues wondering what the hell you want, I remember when Saturn was in Libra and it transited my fifth, this is where I got so much more serious about being a rapper. And I was like, I really do want to be, you know, on stage. It wasn't until Jupiter was in my fifth in Libra that I started making the music videos and I developed my craft so well. And that's what's going to be so great for you, Virgo, because in a few short years, you're going to have Jupiter join with Saturn. What I didn't have was Jupiter with Saturn, so that I'm developing the structure for what I want and also the talent. So it's going to happen for you really fast. And before you know, you're working with very powerful people who really dig your talent and they want into what you're creating. But one interesting thing about this powerful creative venture is that Virgo, the Lover's card, is saying it's fully focused on your relationships. The fifth house is a romance house, and Neptune is going to be in your seventh. So this is going to be seriously opening up the divine partnerships and the connections you have with very important people in your life. Think of the other half of your soul, because if you were ever going to manifest this twin flame relationship, it's going to be now, especially with the North Node that'll shift out of your 12th house and into your 11th house, so that by karmic law, all of your wishes have to come true, because the resources to make all of your wishes come true are your heart's desires and your creative talent in the 5th house with the South Node in Cap. This is really awesome, Virgo, because once again, the whole theme of Saturn and Capricorn is you being in love with your soulmate. And it's not just you being in love with your soulmate. These creative ventures are what you and this lover will inspire yourselves and others with, to where the source of this creative fuel is the connection of love you have with certain special people to you. And I totally see, like, literally, even the cards are just talking about, oh, I mean, well, I was just talking about the cards, but the cards are literally just talking about you and this partner. Whereas you're the Queen of Pentacles and this partner is the King of Wands. Even if you're a Virgo male watching this, there's going to be a dynamic to where there's the masculine energy of this Leo energy and the feminine energy of this Capricorn. All right. And the Two of Wands is both of you seeing eye to eye. In some decks, in another deck, it's literally like two people holding each wand looking at each other. So both of you are going to kind of establish your relationship together. Clearly, Virgo, you're the more analytical, grounded one. And this is going to be with someone who's very passionate and strong. All right. Someone to light up your fire as you kind of ground a lot of his ambitions. All right. And the Two of Wands are just both of you really aligning in focus to where you both have the world in your hands. So congratulations, Virgo. I think this is one of the better pools we have for you. And listen, I don't care what anyone says. If anyone deserves this, it is you, Virgo. If anyone deserves this love, you put in so much work. So, I mean, you really want to have fun. The 5th house is all about having fun. Put in your work and creativity, but make sure your heart is opening. Saturn seriously wants you to develop creative passion in the most intensive ways. All right. Libra, yours is definitely not going to be as fun. I'm just be 100% honest. The good news about this transit, though, is that a whole lot of this very deep, challenging energy in your 4th house will finally be resolved. Some of you have had very intense family issues to where you've kind of just disowned your family. Like, you don't even talk to your family anymore. Some of you, Like you might talk to them vaguely, but you're not really connected, and you're not. And this is such a private issue for a lot of people. A lot of people have no ideas that most Libra risings, Libra moons, like they're hurting inside. Some of them are even dead inside, which is leaving room for dark entities to take them over because they're losing touch with their soul, because Pluto is forcing you, Libra, to go deep and dark into the very intense places that lack emotion within you that you have to really come to terms with. And it's a very long process. And I'm not going to make it sound like most Libras have been running away from it, but sometimes you have to suppress this bullshit because it's just, you can't, if you focus on it too long, you'll go crazy. And you have Uranus opposite your sign. So this has been really, I've been talking about how mutable signs have been going through the Neptune squares and oppositions with Saturn, but Libra, you've solidly had Pluto square you and Uranus opposite you for years. This has slowly made you go cuckoo. So once Jupiter and Saturn go into Aquarius 2020, we're going to start getting a little bit more fun, but you're going to really finally put to terms this deep internal conflict that's just going to erupt and have to be dealt with. And through this, you're going to find you have so much power inside, because this is just going to help you get through the most intense of anything, especially if you have Libra, Saturn, if you have Pluto and Saturn in Libra. This square is going to be tough. Okay. The good news is once this ends, Pluto will still be in your fourth, but you'll be able to handle it now because you've laid so much foundation for inner strength that's needed and the inner power so that you connect with important people in your life. Libra, the secret that you've kept hidden is certain people to the core of you have rejected you. Certain people in a private sense that you're supposed to gain comfort through, they've rejected you. So it's hard to tap into your heart because you don't have that place of foundation. And the 8 of Cups is you need to find yourself. This whole Saturn transit is a spirit quest. You're going to have to walk away from it all just to go on your own pilgrim's progress to find yourself. And I really love that Fool card at the end. That's a promise. When this Saturn and Capricorn transit is done, you're going to be so full of purpose, and you're going to have a truly open mind, and you will get through this hell you're going through. You will get through this anxiety. You just have to sail away from it. And that's the promise there. I'm going to move backwards because that 6 of Swords is saying you will find resolution to these internal deep issues, some of which are so intense, you literally can't tell anyone. Some of you are dealing with like psychopath murderers in your family, like family secrets. And it doesn't have to be that intense. Some of it is just a general displeasing and rejection of your own uniqueness to where you can't really even be yourself in your own house. So you're going to be sailing away from that, okay? There's going to be a positive future as you go on this quest to where you're catching more W's. It's not to say you haven't been victorious. You still are Libra. Like, let's just act. It's not like, let's just act like not everyone wants you. I mean, let's not act like everyone does not want you still. But still, Libra, as you sail towards this positive future, the middle of the transit as Jupiter starts to go into your 3rd house and clear up your attitude, this is going to really bless you with a brighter way of seeing things. You're going to see the worst is ending. And you're going to really step into that Fool card and begin a brand new adventure. When the North Node is in your 9th house of Gemini and Jupiter and Saturn are ready to uncover and unlock new talents in how you communicate, because you have new soul power and strength. So really keep in mind the Hierophant. You're really going to have to embrace that status quo. And you know what, Libra? That's what you're leaving. The Hierophant is just talking about you having to deal with the status quo and the way things are done by the book that you're ready to leave and rebel from. All right. Who is this strict influence that has given you very great knowledge, but it's chaining you with that same knowledge? You're going to sail away from this. You're going to sail away. A lot of Libras you're going to find are going to move away from the conventional. You're going to see them embracing more their Uranian Aquarian selves. So all these Libras that were too afraid to be weird because they wanted to fit in, they're not going to care anymore. They're going to finally embrace what Gemini and Aquarius have been embracing, and they're going to step into their full selves. The Fool is Uranus. All right. It's no coincidence that it's going to move there. And it's literally the bridge between them moving away from being normal and trying to fit in, because mad Libras have been trying to fit in. And that's why they were having that rejection. And now they're just going to be like, screw it. There's some Libras who stick out, by the way, but their problem was they were trying to be eccentric and fit that into the system. They're now just going to be like, screw it. I'm going to be my own unique self. Like they already wanted to be, but it's just going to be more embraced. All right. To where they no longer compromise themselves. So you got this, Libra. You totally got this. Scorpio, this is going to usher in a greater mind activation that will very profoundly utilize and harness important facets of your mind so that you're in a greater ability to apply constructively the psychological awareness of people's habits and intent. The coolest thing about having Capricorn as your third house is you know how to strategically use your words to hypnotize and control, manipulate other people because of the timing of how you think and say things. It speaks of your great attitude, but elements of this attitude have been triggered by the sincerity of your philosophy that now needs to change so that there's a greater alignment in the seriousness of your attitude. You have a lot of Scorpios who are very serious about certain issues that other people don't seem to really care about as seriously. And this is what's going to shift how well you can transform and add more structure to the way you think, write, and communicate. Your words are going to be so much more powerful, but this could kind of bring a lot of melancholy to the way you think. Now, it doesn't matter because you stay melancholic. So it's not like a transit will make that less of that. But anyway, the Seven of Pentacles is talking about this being a very important period of patience. I mean, you have the Emperor card. So you're starting the transit off in control and in authority. Look to any such authority figures to help you gain more control. But this is going to be talking about the discipline you will apply so that you start this transit off like the boss you are. And you really just want to be patient and allow things to grow. Don't force anything. All right. You will be defending. I want you to see the Seven of Pentacles as your kingdom, your empire. All right. Scorpios are rulers. And so you've built some stuff over the years. Now you just want this legacy to continue to grow, but you're going to defend this legacy. You see, people are going to try and come. Look at that. They got the same hair. People are going to want to come for what you have, 7 and 7. And you're going to have to beat them over the head and be like, nope, I worked hard for this. Leave me alone. Make sure you totally stand up for yourself. Okay. Jupiter is in your sign right now. So it's activating the first 3 chapters along with Saturn to where the integrity you've built in your character, you're now evolving the level of which you experience how you express this depth of character and how you transform into it, indicated by the Death card that will take this structure you've built and transform you to the next level. But honestly, I kind of see this as a fight to the death because there's literally people coming at you. They want your throne, Scorpio. You're going to establish your throne and people are going to come for the throne. And I feel like certain people are going to have to die. This is, remember now, in the middle of a divine RPG where you're the revolutionary. So I don't necessarily see death here in a positive way. I see this as, you know, when Saturn and Scorpio is done, or sorry, when Saturn and Capricorn is done, you know what I'm saying? There might be dead bodies around you. I don't see this as you dying. I hope not. But this is really more transformation that will usher in the final growth, because all you have to do is be patient, and that's the victory there, just by really nurturing what's growing and then stepping into that next phase. Because Saturn and Jupiter will square your sun in Aquarius, and that's, or rising, and that's not going to be easy, but it'll be an interesting chapter. Sagittarius. This is going to be pretty amazing, quite awesome for you. We have manifest destiny, and this is really speaking of the next 3 years of laying the seeds of wealth you'll build for the next 30 years. In other words, Sagittarius, work, 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 work. See me in there, work, 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 work. Okay, yeah, I'll never do that again. But yes, you want to work your ass off. It's just, I don't really feel like this is going to be work for you, because Saturn really was just in your sign for like 3 fucking years, and you already did the work. So all you're really having to do is to lay the cement. Saturn in the second house transits, especially with Jupiter that'll join, are really clutch, because not only are you closing off a cycle with Jupiter in your 12th right now, but this is going to literally have you manifest your kingdom all super quick. Jupiter is going to go through Scorpio and release your old life. It's going to go through Sagittarius and just evolve your magic to the next level, to where you don't even have to think about what you're going to do. You just do it, and you have that much more luck. Then it's going to go into your second house and open the floodgates of millions of cash, so that you can create this magical empire that you're incarnated back here to do. Some of you, at least. The Page of Cups for some of you Sagittarius could be a new love interest. So there is some romance in the air, but I really see this more as a greater connection to the divine through your imagination, and a new feeling being born. Okay. Especially, I love how this is just purely mental. But before we get to those cards, you know what I mean? This has so much to do with gaining a very profound level of self-esteem. Your self-esteem is going to be attacked in so many ways, probably by yourself, to where you have to just believe in your confidence like never before. This is going to build so much incredible values within your system of judgment that when this transit's over, you're going to hold and carry yourself different, as you'll begin to develop your attitude with Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius, and really make realer the star talk. So it's not just like jargon you spit, but it's just even more on point. And I just love this symbolism with the swords here. We have the Two of Swords. You're a bit indecisive. You had the Saturn transit. You're closed off, right? You're having to release and initiate. And then with this Page of Cups, which could either be a new lover, or it could just indicate an awakening of intuition that ushers in with it an epiphany. So you unveil your Zanpakuto and your sword of truth. This manifest destiny is going to really unveil a truth about you, and an awareness of this great victory that comes with this truth, that you can take this sword and then become the King of Swords. So whereas before you were just kind of blinded because you didn't see the truth, you're going to see the truth. And you're not only going to see the truth, but you're going to harness it. And you'll find yourself more acutely rational than ever. And your intellect is just going to evolve. And you need this moving into the Aquarius transit, to where you're going to build that forward. Okay. Very symbolic here. I think this is awesome. This could be somebody else, an air sign. And I really look forward to what that Ace of Swords moment is going to be for you. And once again, this is just going to be such a communicative transit, where you're going to be making profound realizations, and then you start to express and teach them. Keep in mind that the North Node is going to shift into Cancer, and then eventually The South Node is going to be in your sign, Sagittarius. So you are going to be our resource. The meaning you derive will be our resource so that we can uncover the proper truth. Capricorn, the great return. This is definitely as interesting as you would expect. Holy crap, I didn't even realize I drew those cards. That is quite ridiculous. Capricorn rising, Capricorn moon. This great return is definitely speaking of a whole lot of what you have ushered in through the cycle that began 1989. I had no idea I drew these cards. I completely forgot. This is kind of interesting. This is dark Capricorn, but the devil card is Capricorn, so you're going to embody this darkness. It's like the source of the darkness is going to come from you. So it's nothing to fear because you're going to have to really like learn to harness this. And the great return is indicating, of course, the revitalization of your character. The devil is indeed back. And it's like you had to lose yourself in order to find yourself. There are going to be certain ways of thinking that you shed that you're just going to take back because it's like, okay, it's almost as if like, let's say you hated somebody and then you decided to find compassion, but then during your transit, you realized why you hate them. And then now you really hate them. And now you know why you hate them, or vice versa. Jupiter, of course, will be transiting your 11th, 12th, and then 1st. So this is really the great return because this is going to establish the full evolution. And you're going to see Capricorns harness their full power as they start the next cycle through that. Especially with the South Node that will also be transiting your sign, where a lot of this integrity you hold space for will be a resource for everyone to harness so that they can develop new sincerity in their hearts and their own authentic way of feeling about things while empathizing as well, and who to empathize to. So this Wheel of Fortune is saying this whole shift. The Wheel of Fortune is the card of Jupiter, evolution. So it's not really until Jupiter enters your sign in late 2019 that you'll truly feel this, although you'll experience it, but this is going to be that shift that you'll feel all transit though, but it will fully be felt when Jupiter joins the party, obviously. But the Wheel of Fortune is talking about your luck turning. This is a turn of events to where certain things you were waiting for because Saturn wasn't back finally shift and you're ready to move forward with. This is going to bring a lot of fortune, and this is going to bring great abundance by really harnessing your luck. It's this Queen of Swords that is throwing me off here because the Devil card and the Moon card is black magic. And Capricorn, a whole lot of what you're going to have to understand is how to personally harness this darker shadow psychic ability of magic that does exist within you and literally needed to take 30 years to fully manifest and mature. Whether you were born before 89 or after, okay? And a whole lot of you are going to have to deal with this facet within yourself. I don't get the sense that it's going to fight you or anything, though. It's just going to assume its power back. And Pluto's in your sign. So the devil will awaken in a lot of people who have this Capricorn energy. Okay. This Queen of Swords could be someone who facilitates the process. I get the sense this Queen of Swords could be you, especially Capricorn, really focusing diligently on your personal goals and just having a no-nonsense approach because your intellect will be sharp. But once again, the Devil and the Moon, you're heading down a very dark chapter. And I don't necessarily, the Devil card is all about succumbing to temptations and then delusions with the Moon. But trust me when I say, all of these shadow elements you're going to come into a full mastery and control of. So it's not that you're the one falling to temptation. You're the source of temptation, and you're testing how much control people have with others. It's like you will become the devil. And this is important because you're going to have to redefine how dark is this being, right? There's a revolutionary aspect to this. It's just that moon card. There's a lot of mystery that is going to open up. The devil card is really embracing these dark techniques, and the moon is establishing a connect with Neptune to express this forth in psychic ways that could betray people's vision and what they thought they saw. In other words, Capricorn, this is going to be the transit where you master black magic and the dark arts of sorcery. And this is very interesting because I didn't expect you to go through this chapter. I thought this Capricorn chapter would be a lot more like focused more on work, but looks like a lot more undercover witches and wizards are going to be working. Also, keep in mind that Jupiter, once again, will be transiting your 12th. So you will be going through that period of release before you reawaken to who you are. Because it's going to be so profound of an evolution. And I do get the theme that this is a dark lord that's going to awaken from you with Pluto. So it's something that's only been latent up until now. And some of you may have not been embracing because you think it's evil when there's no such thing as good or bad, my friends. It's just positive or negative. Okay. So Aquarius. I think along with Virgo, you got the best cards. Aquarius, I've called this final destination because this is it. This is the final chapter before Saturn and Jupiter not only come back into your sign, but Pluto is ready to move into your sign. So technically, we won't see Pluto in Aquarius until Jupiter's in Aries, like 2025. But this is the final destination because so much hardcore paranormal experiences that you had to keep on the hush hush have done so much to give you mental anxiety and even induce fake mental illness. And I say fake mental illness because a lot of Aquariuses have felt they need therapy, but it's not that they need therapy. They need to clap back at these spiritual entities who are attacking them every day. And it's not necessarily until you're in a position to embrace such, which you will, that you'll step into a whole lot of what you've been dreaming of. This is going to be a 12th house transit that will start off very intensely scary and then just as quickly turn into a paradise for you in the weirdest way ever. But you are weird, so you're going to love it. And I say weird with respect because Uranus and Aquarius is weird. Anytime you say something's weird, it stands out. It's Aquarius. Pisces and Neptune is strange. Stranger danger, stranger things. That's Neptune land. I have Venus in the 12th, which is why I could fall for strangers, right? Versus Venus in the 11th, who loves weirdos. But anyway, this transit is definitely going to be really, really, really revelatory because you're going to be coming into profound hindsight about a whole lot of what was really in the dark. And it's only because it's been hidden from you. So this will strengthen your supernatural psychic ability to its final extent. But, you know, it took some time to really harness and master once again. And just keep that in mind. All right. Also keep in mind what is needed when it comes to really embracing how powerfully you can step into, once again, a whole lot of how you express your knowledge. Give me one moment. All right. So just to reiterate, Jupiter is going to transit your 10th, 11th, and then 12th house. So you're closing out a cycle that you will very profoundly gain powerful understanding of as Jupiter moves through your 10th and 11th to really gather together the success and completion of your endeavors over the last 12 years. And then during Capricorn, you're going to have the most intense release. All right. Aquarius, you're a higher octave of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius with Jupiter and Scorpio, they're having to shed and release everything that makes them human so that they can fully be gods. You're a greater level of this, Aquarius. The clearing you're going to do with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in your 12th is going to forever, with these structural changes, allow the world to finally see the magi and the cosmic god and goddess you are. So the Seven of Cups is walking through altered states as you find your 12th house starts to create more glitches in the matrix. And your creative visualization is the fog that you've been walking into. All right. This fog has been around for a long time, and you're going to be walking out this fog into the rainbow of this new love. Because a very magical union between your masculine and feminine side, mirrored by a very potent soulmate relationship, is going to establish itself during this Saturn Aquarius transit. And it ends with stability and material gain. So this is just the bee's knees. There's going to be a very dreamy, magical element because the Seven of Cups is involved. So you're going to really see a lot of your fantasies come true. And the Magician, Aquarius, is saying that you need to make sure your willpower and intent is fully focused, because this is what's going to manifest all of this. The spell work you do and the focus you maintain. And finally, we have Pisces, the winner circle. The winner circle, of course, is implementing this 11th house transit that Capricorn will greatly trigger for you. You've definitely been hard at work establishing the karma of other people's lives and setting things in motion behind the scenes while also working hard on yourself, Pisces. And Neptune has definitely been dissolving your ego. So you may not always be aware of how both of these worlds are separate, because to you they're blended. But this is going to finally implement the completion and the gathering together of everyone you know. Pisces, you had that period where you connected with different soulmates and gathered them together or incorporated with them. And then there was that period of separation. This is going to be this next 2.5 year period where all your real friends you're going to find a dwindling down of your friends, but the real friends who you can move forward with, they're going to come back and they're going to be successful. Because you had to do your own thing, Pisces, and you were in a position where you had right now with Saturn, and that was in your 10th house, you had to really establish your career. Now, and you're going to be in a position where you finally reach success on your own, and you can now connect with other friends who add to your success, because the theme for you, Pisces, are some of these other friends are going to come back too. Certain people who don't live in integrity, but they're your friends, and you're going to have to call it quits with them because they're holding you back, versus friends who in the separation, they've reached their own success and now you can come back together. So that Four of Pentacles is saying all that work with Saturn and Sagittarius, you're going to really gain a lot of material gain. You want to save a lot of the money you gain too, because they're going to be important projects that you can now fund with that. And the Temperance card and the Knight of Cups is talking about you gaining the necessary balance through moderation to really pursue more of your artistic ambitions and spiritual aims. Okay, you're going to definitely have more time to really be more of yourself. The Knight of Cups is Pisces. And that Temperance card is really amazing. When Jupiter goes through your 10th, it's going to open up powerful career opportunities that you already worked hard for. And I really love that Three of Pentacles, because you're going to get with these winners in your circle and you're going to start a new project with them. And it's going to be one that is more aligned with you instead of just work you feel you have to do. So congratulations, Pisces. This is a pretty grounded transit for you. If you've been seeking greater balance and moderation in how you do what you do, you're going to get it. And this is really connecting you with a circle and network of people who are established and successful. That's the greatest blessing. The friends that you made 6 years ago, you're now going to see which one of those friends are successful and align with my success. So thank you so much for joining this webinar. I hope it was very, very informative for you. I would love a little bit of feedback. Please feel free to comment on if you've enjoyed this and if it was definitely helpful. Virgo and Aquarius, congrats. You both are definitely going to enjoy profound, exquisite soulmate love. And who knows, maybe even with each other. And yeah, I am now open for questions, and I will answer those questions. Please make sure the questions are about Saturn and the Capricorn transit, and I will make sure I answer them to the best of my ability. I totally did not expect this webinar to be as long as it has been. Time flew. It totally did not feel as long as it was, but hey, when you deal with the Lord of time, things happen. So once again, thank you guys so much for joining. And I really do appreciate those of you who stayed tuned and consistent with the webinars. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. And I just look forward to how much better we'll make these webinars. All right. Always open for suggestions. So Saki asks, my 12th house is Capricorn. How will this transit affect this placement? Neptune in Capricorn is going to be triggered by Saturn, and this 12th house energy is going to bring out the greatness of your supernatural quality to where it's not just going to be in the dark. It's not just going to be unknown. It's going to take real concrete physical form. And the challenge here will be releasing the falsity that gets in the way of you embracing this personal connection. You may think you're crazy even more, but the more crazy you feel, the better, because you'll be grounding it with your own personal integrity. Saturn going over Neptune or Uranus in Capricorn is going to unlock and give you the full power of that energy because it's coming back through the cycle. So great question. And just to reiterate, for those of you who are having Saturn returns during this Saturn in Capricorn, this Saturn return is going to bring in a phase of structural changes that will transform the world over the next 30 years from 2020. So you're stepping into the great work you'll be building into the next 30 years, as well as fully mastering your supernatural power and then taking the next 30 years to actually fulfill a legacy with those supernatural powers. So for the first 30 years, it was developing it. The next 30 years is moving forward with it. Unless this is your third Saturn return, then you've already done the superpower transit. Now it's the final great work. This Saturn will be passing over my 5th house moon, Neptune, and Uranus in Capricorn. What could those planets mixed in indicate? Urethra, this is powerful because you're going to finally master and develop your creative talents to the max extent. And you'll be able to gain very creative ways to use your intuition to express your emotions and your heart in ways that very seriously manifest your heart's desires. But definitely know there's a psychic power mastery with Saturn that will hit Neptune and Uranus and grant you. Saturn in Gemini, even though I'm a Capricorn, does that make a difference at all? Yes. The Saturn quincunx that will affect the Capricorn energy being activated will take a lot of this integrity that's being harnessed and force you to very seriously implement ways you work on your mind. Because Saturn in Gemini is very tough and critical mind and a very small tolerance for lies. So you'll find there's a bit of mental stress in the way you really organize your thoughts so that you create a greater sense of fluid flow. How will this affect Capricorn and Saturn in second house placement? This will definitely open up a greater desire and ambition to take yourself to the next income bracket and to build yourself with great self-esteem. Do not fall for the trap of comparing your success with other people's success and being this elitist who holds yourself to those same unrealistic standards. Ground yourself with values that take into account the integrity of your character and build your self-esteem, because Capricorn second house is having value because you're a person of integrity. And that's how you can feel confident in yourself. And it's also going to open up a new foundation to make greater amounts of money. How about Saturn transiting my North Node conjunct Uranus in the 10th? Ooh, that's a good question. This is going to establish powerful success over the next 30 years, but specifically the first 3, so that you can fulfill the radical, unconventional destiny that you were meant to. And this will be the period where you begin to establish your presence in the world, and people start to now be influenced by your own unconventionality. How will Saturn affect Cancer? Most of my house is Cancer, as I'm a late Gemini rising. This will be in your 7th house and close to your 8th. So this is going to affect you by very intensely having you identify with your emotions and stick to a level of sincerity that may very much so make enemies, because you cannot hide how you feel. And you standing up to hold others accountable to that integrity will be difficult, but very worth it. That's why it's tough to be Cancer, because they can't really hide how they feel. And, it's giving a lot away. Saturn transiting her Mars and Uranus will kind of just incite a more polished and controlled level of that radical and sometimes unstable energy. And it is going to trigger an encounter to where she has to be tested on how much self-control she has over those actions. How will this affect my Capricorn ascendant? I'm a Scorpio sun. Well, this is going to put a huge weight jacket over your personality and character, and you're going to feel everything is more challenging, as you really have to do a lot to open up greater integrity in your personality and character, especially as a Scorp sun, which will also develop the attitude and how you think about your personality and express such. But it's opening up a very serious 30-year cycle. Saturn encapping your 3rd, opposite your natal Saturn in Cancer, that is a huge relevance, actually, because it's speaking of a full, it's like a completion of that Saturn transit. So you want to think back to what happened during your Saturn return, because now you're going to be in a position to develop that attitude. Your Saturn return in your 9th was establishing a very important level of belief in your personal feelings that you're now ready to ground with the attitude of how you can seriously express yourself? Very good question. You're going to find that as it goes back to Cancer, you're closing off this Saturn lesson. So this Saturn in Capricorn is going to bring the completion of that lesson for you. Okay. Mindful Robot, what personal transits are you most excited for? I'm most excited for that Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn that'll be right on my moon. And right as it's on my moon, the North Node will be on my sun, and I can only imagine what'll be happening to me. But I think it'll have a lot to do with developing my consciousness to prepare to a more global presence, since all of this will be moving into my 10th house in Aquarius. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to end the Q&A right here. And once again, as difficult as Saturn and Capricorn may be, as long as you have integrity and as long as you're willing to put in the work for the success you want to achieve, you will succeed. I really don't know what else to say. So with that in mind, get ready to show yourself what you're made of in the greatest of ways. And as we exit this infinite loop portal, you stay blessed and peace.